I'm Persephone, and this is Persephone's Board Game Reviews. As part of my card game series, today I'm going to be talking about the card game Battle Line. So Battle Line is a two-player game, and I think it's a great game for people who want a card game with a lot of depth and puzzles, but they don't want something that feels really complicated. This game can be really intuitive to new players or people who don't like card games or board games that much because it borrows elements from poker. I'd say that a new player or an inexperienced player could easily beat someone who's more experienced. It only took me about 5 or 10 minutes to play this game and play competitively, and it's just a really fun game. I'm really excited to talk about it. So I would argue that this is kind of an area control game like Risk, but it's really unique because there's no board. The way you play is that there's these nine flags, or pawns I suppose, and you take turns with your opponent placing cards in front of the flags. You can control one flag or take a flag if your poker-like hand is stronger than your opponent's, and you play poker-like hands across on each flag, and then it's sort of like a battle at each flag. And there's two ways to win this game. You either have to capture 5 flags or 3 adjacent flags. And that's kind of how it's like an area control game. You constantly have to keep track of how your opponent is placing their hands. You don't want your opponent to have 3 strong hands in a row because then they'll win right away. And it's just a really unique kind of game. So I think the coolest logic part of this game is that once I play 3 cards in front of any flag, I immediately start looking around the whole board to see what cards have been played so that I know what hands can still be played or what poker hands are possible. And if you can prove to your opponent that they can't beat your hand, then you can take a flag early, even if they haven't finished. So let me give you an example that makes sense, because I'm not sure that made any sense. Let's pretend that I'm trying to play 3 of a kind and take this flag here. So I've placed 3 7s in front of the flag. And let's pretend that my opponent placed 2 8s in front of that flag. So they're trying to beat the flag with 3 of a kind as well. Well, the person who has higher numbers in their 3 of a kind would win the flag. But if I can look around the board and see that all the other 8s have been played and that my opponent can't possibly finish their 3 of a kind, well, that flag is mine, even if they haven't placed 3 cards yet. It's really fun because you're just constantly looking for little puzzles and proofs, and it just feels like a really deep game, even though there aren't all these extraneous rules and stuff. It's great. The game also comes with these extra cards, and you can pick these up instead of the number and color cards. And they have things like, they're like wild cards, or there's a special card that makes it so one flag requires 4 cards to conquer that flag. And they're kind of cool because they add randomness to the game, but the game is also really fun if you just remove these cards and only play with the poker hands. So you can adjust the levels of complexity, and that's really great. It's hard for me to come up with any negatives about this game, but I thought about it, and I realized that I've played this game about 50 times now, and so far I felt like it's fun because I'm constantly noticing new puzzles and learning from new proofs, but now I feel like I'm not learning as much, so I might be getting tired of the game, and that's sort of a negative. Another thing is that sometimes when I'm playing with someone who's new, they have trouble remembering all the hands, and because they're not exactly like poker hands, it's just poker style. And it would be great if the game came with like a little cheat card, like in Catan. Catan comes with a little recipe card, and that can help a new player remember what they need to play on their turn. And it would be easy to include that, and this game just doesn't have that. It'd be great if it did. But yeah, that's all. Thank you.